Well, you've tuned in at a good time. You've tuned in for a good show. This week we have a great comedian, the star of Mike and Molly and Bob Hearts Abishola, and now a film called The Vortex. Yeah, we're chatting with Billy Gardell today.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is the Minutia Man Celebrity Interview with Rick and Dave.
So Dave is not here today. We're doing a solo one. I'm Rick, and Billy, you're on the line right now?
Hey, man, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Now, Billy, after doing two big hit sitcoms, people know who you are, but obviously they remember you most fondly as the voice of Jackson Buford Harrison in the animated series Gary the Rat on Spike TV.
You know what, man? That was so fun. My buddies wrote that show, and they said, we just need you to be this big, obnoxious blowhard. And at that time, it wasn't hard to play that part, so it was good. It was good.
You know, I bring it up jokingly, but I bring it up for the kids out there because you've been working at this showbiz thing for a long time before you hit it big with Mike and Molly. And for the kids trying to make it out there, tell us about some of those less glamorous jobs you had early on in your career.
Well, I started as a stand-up comic in 1987, and my first gig, I was underage in a comedy club. I was about 17, and in order to be in there legally, they had to give me a job. So that way I could be there for open mic nights, because that way I was technically an employee. So my first gig in show business was cleaning the bathrooms and vacuuming the showroom and mopping the bar.
All right.
So now that's a prestigious position in show business, buddy. There's nothing like a nightclub bathroom to clean at the end of the night.
Yeah,
There's nothing to make you really commit to your craft like doing that, let me tell you.
Well, we'll talk about your comedy in a bit, but I was watching the trailer for The Vortex this morning, and you may have gotten your start as a comedian, and you played mostly comedic roles, obviously, in television and movies, and you even play a comedian in this movie. But boy, oh boy, this one's not a comedy, is it?
No, this is a very dramatic role, and my friend Richard Zelniker directed it, and when he brought me the script, he goes, look, I got this little indie. I think you'd be right for it. And so, I committed to doing it, and I'm glad I did, because sometimes, when you're fortunate enough to have some success, you can get stuck in that box of, oh, he just does this.
Right.
And so you have to step outside that and go, all right, I'm going to go do this little film for just the sake of art. No money in it. I mean, you don't make no money on indie films. I mean, it's filming long days, trying to make your time, trying to make your day. And I just was so lucky to get a cast. Our director, Richard Zelniker, put this cast together that were just these actors. Some you would know, some you don't know yet, but everybody brought their A game to this thing, and that's one of the joys of doing indie as well. Everybody's doing that to try to do something good. You're not worried about the outcome. And my goal going in was to do something and show the industry, oh, this guy could make a dramatic turn too. And so that's what I think this has given me, and I'm very grateful for that.
And you're the star of this thing. This is you're not like a fringe
man, they're
character.
on me for a minute. They're on me for a minute in this film, and but like I said, I give so much credit to my fellow actors, because they each brought something different to the movie, and it gave me a place to react and listen, because this guy I play has a gambling addiction, and to kind of shelter himself from it, he's kind of the therapist guy for all the other nuts in the casino, including some loan sharks and tough guys that are after him for money. And he's just in this spiral, and he meets this Paiute Indian woman who works there, who tells him something huge is going to happen to him, and he's going to have to make a giant choice if he truly wants to be free. And so it was just an interesting film. I think it got shot so beautifully, and again, cast that was assembled. I got to put two of my buddies in there too. I got to recommend Christopher Titus, who's a great comic in his own right, and played a great bad guy, and my buddy Joe O'Connell, and to share the screen with him was great. We've been friends for 30 years, so there was a natural chemistry there. But everybody else in there just brought an openness and a willingness to do good work, and I think we did something really cool.
Did you actually shoot it in Vegas?
No, we shot in a tiny little sound stage, like the size of a 2-bedroom apartment out here in LA, and we would get there at 6 a.m. and go till 6 p.m. And everybody pitched in, and it was nice, man. I got my kid who wants to be in this business. We got him on. I think he did 4 different jobs that week, and got him baptized by fire. And this thing came together, and it looks really nice. And we've had a nice run in Los Angeles and Orlando and my hometown of Pittsburgh, and now Chicago, which has been so good to me since Mike and Molly. And then we're going to do Indy too. And in Chicago, we're playing at the Wilmot Theater March 13th through the 16th, and you can go to their website to get tickets. And I just hope people come out and give it a chance and take a look at it, because I think it's a good little experience, little film experience.
It looks great, based on the trailer. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So doing a dramatic role, it's like exercising a different muscle, right? I mean, I've interviewed a lot of dramatic actors who say that they have a hard time doing comedy. I mean, because comedy requires, timing.
Well, it's the old dying's easy, comedy's hard.
Yeah.
But for some reason, making someone laugh and keeping their attention is not the easy.
No, it's
the heavy dramatic parts.
Well, but also, don't you think that kind of the secret of comedians is that you're all kind of deep down dented cans? So going
100. I mean, why do you think we're up here? Of course.
But then going into dramatic roles, you obviously have something to tap into there, because you're already a dented can.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of comics, and not all of them, but a lot of comics come from some kind of heavy life experience, and the defense mechanism was laughter, because you get exhausted from crying. So you gotta switch gears, man.
That's
you
true.
You gotta be able to have some gallows humor, and I think comics can draw on that when they take a dramatic turn.
So now you've been on a roll for a while here. Mike and Molly, you had two hit sitcoms. You hosted a game show. You're traveling around the country doing stand-up. I know that you have had some struggles in your life, but these days you seem to be in a pretty good place.
I'm grateful, man. I've made it through my journey, and I'm 55, and I recently lost 173 pounds, so I feel like a new man. And that's another thing that's spurring on opening doors to playing different kinds of parts. And man, I'm very lucky to be aware of how lucky I've been. And I try to bring that gratitude to everything I do. I don't do it perfectly, but I try my very level best to bring that gratitude to everything I do, because I've really had a beautiful run. Warts and all, I've had a beautiful run.
Well, it comes through when you talk to you
Thanks, man.
that you are appreciative. And like you said, you really have had some good fortune. You've worked with some of the most respected Hollywood professionals, and coming from a world of comedy into acting, that had to help.
Oh, 100%, man. I always credit Greg Garcia and Alan Kirshenbaum. Greg Garcia is one of my favorite people. He's an executive producer who created and produced a show called Yes Dear, which he put me on as a reoccurring character, and that was my first semi-regular job. And he went on to do My Name is Earl and Raising Hope and The Guest Book and several others. But if I was looking at my career like a pro football player, I would say Greg was my college coach, because I learned so much being a reoccurring character on that show that it helped me be ready to take that next step when I got Mike and Molly to be the lead. So what I had learned at Yester, I brought in there, and then, and that's once you get up into that level with Chuck Lorre, and I had Jimmy Burrows directing us the first 2 years of Mike and Molly, who directed Cheers and Friends and Taxi, and Peter Roth was at the time running Warner Brothers, and in my opinion, the last great television man. And so I was surrounded by people that I've just been lucky enough, when I step in it good, my wife says, because I've been surrounded by great teachers, Garcia, and then Burroughs, and then Chuck Lorre, and then now the cool part for me is when I got to Bob Hearts Abishola, and who gets 2 back to back? That's
right.
Just insanity.
It is.
So to get the second one, I became the wily veteran, and I was able to help the the younger and greener actors on Bob Hearts Abishola, I could be of service to them. So I got to pay that forward. So I've just been, and you know, in between Mike and Molly and Bob Hearts Abishola, I did a short dramatic series called Sun Records, which is streaming on Paramount. And I got to play, it was about Sun Records in Memphis, and I got to play Colonel Tom Parker, and I got directed by Roland Joffe.
Wow.
So, but the secret to all of my success, and I tell my son this, is listen to the people that know what they're doing. Learn to differentiate who knows what they're doing and listen to that person, because learning and being open is what's going to bring you your best performance, no matter what you're doing in this business. And I think that holds true in everything. My dad used to say it this way: if you get a job cutting pipes, don't ask the guy you walked in the door for advice. Find the old guy that's sweeping up a little bit, like 15 minutes early. That's the guy you want to learn from. Yeah. That's the guy you want to go find. And I always kind of kept that in my pocket.
So what are some things that you learned from, like Jim Burrows or Chuck Lorre, or, you know, some of your co-stars?
Everything with Chuck has to be believable. And Jimmy would always say about the cast, if I don't think you guys like each other, why am I watching this? So like Burroughs said to us when we started Mike and Molly, go out to dinner together, learn about each other's kids, learn about each other's life, find out where each other's from, what your histories are. The closer you are, the more authentic this is going to be, and the audience is going to believe that. And the Mike and Molly cast, we bonded at such a beautiful level because, you know, of course we had the magnificent Melissa McCarthy across this table from me, and then Reno Wilson and Lou Mastillo and Rondi Reed and Katie Mixon and Niambi and the Swoozy Kurtz. I mean, there wasn't a weak link on that bench. But the great thing was, when we all hit, you know, we were all in our 40s. So there was that gratitude thing of, you know, nobody was walking around going, I need a velvet hat with M&Ms in it. You know, people were like, hey, we got insurance, good parking, and coffee. Nobody screw this up. So
where's the hairstylist? Where is the hairstylist?
Exactly. But we all loved each other. In fact, we're having our little reunion lunch that we have once a month this week. And, you know, we all rooted for each other. And I think that's when you get your best creativity, is when you're in an environment where everybody's rooting for each other.
Well,
that's, by the way, that vibe was what happened on the Vortex, too.
Oh, cool.
That's exactly what happened on the Vortex. You know, when you have this trust thing and nobody's trying to showboat and nobody's trying to worry about how it's going to come out, you actually get to do the work. And then the work takes care of the outcome. And like I said, we got something we can be proud of.
You know, it's funny you talk about Chicago has been very good to you, but
oh man,
you know, Chicago has, I think we have pretty good bullshit detectors, and
100,
and we can tell, you know, who's a good person and who's not, and
well, you know who's a jagoff and who's not.
Exactly.
The reason I can speak that is Pittsburgh is the only other city, that's my hometown. We're the only other city in the country that uses jagoff, so there's a good truth meter in those towns.
Yeah, jagoff is a great word. But you know, you played a Chicago cop. Didn't you live in Chicago for a while too?
I did. I in my years on the road, I lived in Florida, drove all over the Southeast for gigs. I lived in New York and got it handed to me for 2 years. Then I moved to Atlanta, driving all over the place. And then my final stop before I went out to Los Angeles was Chicago. And I got to live there for 2 years. And in fact, the Chicago winter was what finally pushed me to move to Los Angeles. Yeah. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I thought I knew what winter was, but Chicago takes that to a whole nother. This was the day that I knew I was going to California. I go outside because I got to go to a gig, right? And it's one of them mornings where you got to run out, start the car, and then run back in. Yeah. And so I go out, and it won't crank, but it's clicking. So I know the battery's working, and I think, oh, God, I hope my alternator's not gone. So I do that old trick where you bang on the alternator and get it to try to turn over. That's not working. The oil's fine. I don't know what's going on. Finally, I pop the cap on my radiator, and my antifreeze is frozen. Yeah, and I said right then, in that moment, I go, when antifreeze is freezing,
it's in the word. It's antifreeze.
It says antifreeze. They're lying to me. I am leaving this place. But Chicago and Pittsburgh, you know, I love Midwest humor. because there's some sarcasm, but there's a little love underneath, so it's not cruel.
Yeah.
And it's a don't take yourself too seriously town, and quite possibly my favorite place to eat in the country. I think when I lost all my weight, the restaurants in Chicago flew their flags at half mast because I think there was a tear running down each of the owner's eyes because man, I used to terrorize that place. You could throw a rock and hit a great restaurant in Chicago, which is amazing. And the mom and pop places are the best of all.
So do you have a routine when you come here? Places you like to go, things you like to do?
There's a couple joints I got to go to. I got to go to Portillo's because,
of course,
we actually, the first Christmas party we had at Mike and Molly's, we have Abe's Beef in the show. And the first Christmas party, they tried to recreate the Italian beef, and I don't know. I'm not sure. It looked like it looked like somebody drove over a French dip. I don't even know what it was. But I was like, we can't do this. This is not what we're doing. So next year I handled it because there's a Portillo's down in Anaheim. So I called them and they came out and catered the whole thing, and that blew everybody's mind when they got a hold of a real beef with giardiniera peppers.
Yeah.
And then I actually got to be friends with Dick Portillo, not friends, but we got to meet, and he had Melissa and I signed a picture, and we're up in all the Portillos, which is great.
Oh, cool.
And every year after that, Portillo's was the Christmas food. So I got to go there. Then there's another beef joint I like. I feel like I'm cheating on my girlfriend. But I go to Al's Beef too, because there's a great little combo there, and then you can go across and get on the street and get the Italian ices. And then, man, I'm always just looking for Greek food, and I love the Greek diners. There was one out in Diners Grove called the Omega. I lived in that place.
Oh, I've been there.
And it's still mystical to me in a Greek diner how you can order anything,
right?
And they have it made. It doesn't. I don't know how they keep it all in the back. Like I'm like, is there like? I always think like the kitchen is like that warehouse in Indiana Jones where they're putting all the boxes. They just whatever.
Yeah, the menu is like the size of the Bible.
Turkey, spaghetti. I'm like, where are they putting all this? And it just was the best. But like I said, it's just that hometown sarcasm that's not cruel. That's my kind of stuff, man. And I love the authenticity too. And I think that's why, Chicago spurred so many great comedic minds too. Plus you guys have a history there with Zanies and,
right.
They've been around forever. The Second City, of course. And, Del Close is from there, who trained all those great, performers for Saturday Night Live. And there's a vibe there that I just truly love. And when I knew we were doing okay, when I came back to visit, after the first year, Mike and Molly, and the city really was just so welcoming and like, way to go, Mike, hey, Mike, good job, Mike, so you're in the right place when that happens.
I love it. So, obviously you're West Coast now. I hope you weren't affected by the fires at all.
No, God willing, man. It was the most horrible, tragic event out here, and it was a culmination of a bunch of different things, natural and city-wise, that should have been handled. And it was just a swirl of the perfect storm, and it was devastating. And it got close to us. It got within 2 miles of us, and we got evacuated for 3 days, and then we got to come back. So we were one of the lucky ones. But sadly, I hate that it takes something like this, but the community here has really circled the wagons. Everybody who survived went through their house, and you just donate everything you can: shoes, clothes, water, whatever you can bring to the places where families are in need. And the city really has gotten behind itself, and we had so much help and love coming from everywhere. It was nice, and but it was like nothing anybody's. Your eyes, you couldn't believe what you were seeing. It was like Dante's Inferno. It really was. So we were very lucky.
The pictures are just heartbreaking.
Oh man, people lost everything. And that fire was burning at 1.8 miles a day. It's like a wall of fire at like 3,500 degrees Celsius or something. It would evaporate a house in like 7 seconds.
Man,
it was terrifying. Just absolutely terrifying.
Oh man. Well, all right. I have one final question for you.
Yes, sir.
And that is, in the last few years, have you ever done an interview that didn't ask you about your weight loss a single time? And do I get a gold star for that? Do I get a gold star for that?
You get a gold star, and I'm even happy to answer it. And I'll tell you why. I always tell people I did bariatric surgery, and I'm very open about it. And I did that because, you know, the internet just assumes what you did. And there was a fake AI commercial running on Facebook for a while that I ate these magic gummy bears to lose weight.
Oh, my God.
So I'm actually very open and vocal about that because I don't want people to believe that. I shouldn't have to say that.
Yeah.
But there's always somebody that'll come up and go, did the gummy bears work? And I always want to say, use your head, man. Gummy bears is what got me in trouble in the first place.
Wow.
So no, they didn't work. So I always am very open about that. But thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know. So, all right. One last time, tell everybody again where the movie is going to be here in town, and you know when, and best place to see it. I mean, obviously, there's only one place, so let everybody know.
Yeah, the Wilmot Theater, March 13th through the 16th. The Vortex is the film you're looking for, and it's about a man who is a in-house comic. There was a fire at the MGM Grand. Nobody knows why or how it started, and we used a little artistic license like this may have been the reason, kind of a once upon a time in Hollywood thing. And it centers around this comic who has to make a huge decision on how he wants to change his life. And he's also, to distract himself from his addiction, kind of the therapist for all the nuts that are surrounding him while he goes through this decision spurred on by a Paiute Indian woman. And it's a cool noir film, and it's stylistic and beautiful. And I hope you guys will come out and give it a chance.
All right. Well, thanks, Billy. I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about it, and we wish you the very best of luck.
Brother, thank you for your time, man. Be well.
All right. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There he goes, Billy Gardell. Yeah, I'm got to go see that, right? The trailer's online if you want to look at it, but it's coming. He's coming to town. Bob Hearts Abishola is on every night on the WCIU TV in Chicago at 1 a.m. and then again on Sundays 7 to 8 p.m. That was Billy Gardell. All right, we have people to thank. We need to thank our executive producer, Tony Lasano, with Opie Show. Thank you, Tony. Also, I can't forget Ed Silla, who is the distributor with the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of Minutia Men Celebrity Interview. And don't forget also that we have another show called Minutia Men. And that one's worth checking out as well. In fact, Dave's coming over here in just a few moments to tape it. That's Minutia Men Celebrity Interview.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?